They're all the same. I'll show you politics in America. Here it is, right here. I think the puppet on the right shares my beliefs. I think the puppet on the left is more to my liking. Hey, wait a minute. There's one guy holding up both puppets. Shut up.
Activism. What is it exactly? Taking organized action to achieve political and social change. The problem is, activism has really lost its significance in our culture. The word activist has become a cliche, a mainstream, commodified title to throw around. We see a lot of people virtue signaling on social media to give off the impression that they care, and perhaps they do. But in truth, they're simply perpetuating the very problems that they're fighting against. So let's ask ourselves, what makes someone a true activist in the 21st century? Is it enough for us to be focusing on singular issues without addressing the root causes? As a structuralist and part of the new human rights movement, I realize that when you have a failed social and economic model, true activism would have to be the structural redesign of that system, not simply working within it for marginal change. In the world today, there is little awareness of the unsustainable and conflict-producing nature of our socioeconomic system. And people are quick to get emotional if you point out the shortcomings in their way of thinking. They will fight against this criticism. Truth is, the history of human conflict has been an interplay between ignorance and intellect, between emotion and logic. If there's a single crucial life lesson to be learned, it's that reason and not passion should guide our actions. Otherwise, we risk deluding ourselves and losing sight of what's important. Aristotle once said that anyone can be angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not easy. In other words, we have to know what path we want to walk, what battles to fight, and perhaps to be a little bit upset with ourselves in realizing the need for self-reflection. The kind of world we want to live in all depends on what type of culture we support with our ideas and values. And why is the structuralist perspective virtually non-existent among the activist community? Well, Peter Joseph says it best. The reason the things I talk about do not gain pop culture momentum is because to agree with my thesis is to admit this normality people find identity with is wrong. The work put forth ruins people's sense of comfort. We are social and emotional creatures first and logical second. So it's highly stressful for the mental equilibrium of the average person when their sense of identity is put into question. There is a culture of anti-intellectualism, and people are bred not to question the integrity of their system. And this complacency to engage in systems thinking creates an activist culture of emotional reactivity. So a crisis happens as a result of our economic system, and people react to that crisis only as a cause in and of itself, without addressing the foundational problem of our society, which is the pursuit of profits above all else. While activist groups go after oil companies and condemn the behavior of fossil fuel executives, they fail to realize or accept the fact that just like everyone else in this system, we all need jobs and money to survive. Yes, it makes perfect sense, even in a market system, to switch over to renewable energy as fast as possible. But in an economic system that is based on competition and self-preservation, institutions will hold back progress if they have to, in order to survive. They will fight to maintain their positions of power, even if they are no longer relevant. As the rappers say, don't hate the player, hate the game, homie. So to me, it's not corruption when a fossil fuel giant uses scientists to publish false data regarding climate change. It's simply the self-preservation ethos in play. From food production to medicine to infrastructure, any new idea or invention that makes existing institutions obsolete will be fought against, from a business as usual scenario. But again, these points are completely missed out by mainstream activists who cling to the idea of morality and blaming people, calling people greedy and corrupt, and the perpetuation of this nonsensical blame game.
Because I am completely unapologetic at this point. The traditionally minded activist avenues, whether protests in the street, whether creating petitions, whether some kind of general lobbying, all of this stuff that people routinely do in this political dance, it's not going to work for the problems that have emerged at this time. The kinds of problems that are at hand today, particularly under the category of ecological decline and socioeconomic inequality, are not going to be solved by common policy shifts and the fundamental democratic process as we know it. Why? Because the forces of other system processes are interfering with the idea of democracy and limiting its capability. To date, after a decade of all this research, of reading prolifically, especially reading people that are very notable, I'm left with a very disappointed and disheartened feeling about the future. Because the people that are your activist leaders in this department and many others are just as compromised, on average, as the selfishly minded common business person.
I'm calling all you activists out. You gotta be willing to give up your value identification with the system. You gotta grow some thick skin and accept criticism where it's due. This is how we evolve as human beings. I'm sorry to say, systems thinking is the only way to improve society. Trying to help those in poverty, but not questioning the very system that mathematically guarantees the creation and perpetuation of poverty is self-defeating. In the 19th century, strategies like cleaning up the water supply were far more effective in the battle against disease than all the doctors, medicines, and hospitals in the world. Structural change of our economy is like cleaning out the water supply. In-system activism, or the patchwork that mainstream activists do, is like creating more doctors and hospitals to treat people who are already getting sick. So cleaning up the polluted waters that inhabit our social system would be much more efficient than merely addressing the symptoms of our society's problems. So my view on activism is, do what you like, live your life the way you want to, save the whales, save those snails. Realize that we no longer want instinctive acts of kindness, but rather rational decisions founded by empirical reasoning. The only form of activism is out-system activism, and this is the new reality of our world. Please join me in the fight for the evolution of human values, and as always, embrace the new train of thought.
It's big structural, political, economic stuff. You know, what we're being told to do is change your cotton buds. And all these like pathetic micro-consumerist bollocks, which just isn't going to get us anywhere. Actually, everything we have to do is change the system. We have to overthrow this system, which is eating the planet, with perpetual growth. I mean, since when was GDP a sensible measure of human welfare? And yet everything that governments want to do is to try to boost GDP. We're bursting through all the environmental boundaries and screwing the planet already. You want to double it? Double all that? Double it again? Keep doubling it? It's madness. We've got to find a better way of measuring human welfare than perpetual growth. It turns out that through massive rewilding, ecological restoration, you can draw down a load of the carbon dioxide we've already produced. Huge amounts, allowing the forests to come back, the marshes to come back, the sea floor to recover from trawling and stuff. They draw down carbon dioxide and can take us a long way towards stopping climate breakdown at the same time as stopping ecological breakdown. There's time, but we can't do it by just pissing around at the margins of the problem. We've got to go straight to the heart of capitalism and overthrow it.
Please fight me. Please join me in the fight for the evolution.
I knew you were going to drop him, man.
Well, the most common definition is, Ginger, stop!